Welcome Star Wars fans, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Massassi Training Temple. Today's theme, pet peeves and synergies. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is a new feature. I'm going to be trying to do at least one episode a month, if not more if I can. Just talking about things about the game that I like, things that I don't like, and things that work well together. For the first episode today, I want to talk about communing. Now, communing has obviously exploded onto the scene recently. It was released set 16, can you believe? 2 sets ago already. It's crazy. Epic event, and obviously we get the interrupt part of the Living Force, which allows us to play 3 effects. It's common, we see Saitor, sometimes Jedi business, depending on who you're communing with. Watlin, obviously, is always a favourite for a starting effect. And then the third one, it kind of changes. We saw the We're Leaving effect, the kind of Gick effect was popular, but since the set 18 release with the new Tidarium, people have been playing Strike Force to pull out General Solo. So, you know, communing has been one of them excellent platforms that really allows a lot of different directions you can go with the same deck. You could probably build, 3 that are all competitive using the same communing character. Now, the communing epic event in itself is amazing. The extra 1 activation, always helpful. The fact that you can peek at once per turn during yours and your opponent's turn at a card on top of your force pile or lost pile, and then either leave it in place or put it underneath. It's just really powerful for finding the cards you need, or if you're going to retrieve force, sometimes you lose that force to visage at the end of your turn, and you've been thinking, I'm going to retrieve, that one in a minute, and then at the end of the turn, you top another card. Well, communing gets around that. You can just peek at the top card, put it on the bottom, and then still retrieve the one you want. So obviously, our 2 go-tos, we saw a lot in the NPC just a few weekends ago. Yoda. This guy is awesome. He pulls out, hopefully get a good shot of it in the camera, but Yoda pulls out your sights. It's got to be 2 dark side icons. There's plenty of them to choose from. Camino is obviously a great activation package, but Yoda's hurt. The ability to reduce attrition by 2 means so many characters. We think of Anakin, Padawan learner, OG Rey, go from immunity to attrition of like 3 and 4 to now 5 and 6, which is always the problem with those 2 characters. They're so good, and yet they often just get lost to attrition because they're not immune to very much. So that's, a really powerful sight that you get to start with straight away. So Yoda, he's obviously a great communing character. Next, Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is a favourite character of mine. I absolutely loved him in episode 1 and was gutted that he, had to die at the end, sadly. What would have happened if Qui-Gon had stayed alive, eh? We'll never know. But his ability, you can put a card from hand in force pile to draw the top card of your... put a card on the top of your used pile to draw a card from the top of your force pile. And we just said, using communing, you get to peek at it, and then you can either move it or get it into your hand. It's kind of like the 3PO effect, or the 3PO character. But you just do it right from the start of the game. I mean, what an immense ability he gives you. He also gives you power +1 for each character on communing, so you start with power +1 straight away. And he makes your Jedi Council members Destiny +1. So just that in itself is like really handy. A +1 to certain characters' battle destiny number. Great. And then his sight. This I think looks amazing. If you saw I think it was Brian Fred had it in the NPC. If you watched it, he had a foiled version that doesn't have the dark side text either. I know some people might not be huge fans of that, but I thought it looked amazing as a full picture card, and it allows you to pull the Theed Palace generator, and that's a once per turn action, so just a really handy way of looking through your deck every turn, and also pulls out a decent location. Meet your Jedi power plus 2. Yes, please. But now I'm getting on to my pet peeve, and that is Obi-Munning. I said Qui-Gon's a favourite character of mine, but actually Obi-Wan is my top favourite character. You know, he, in some form or fashion, is in all of the Star Wars films. I mean, who else is like that of a main character? Sure, the droids, but, you know, Obi-Wan's a dude. Come on, he starts off as a Padawan and ends up as a communing Jedi. I like to say he's a Jedi Master, even though he only got to ability 6 in the game. We do call him Master Kenobi, so he should be ability 7. Come on, guys. But why is he a pet peeve? Well, for one thing, I've had to use a Toshi station because they didn't actually have an Obi-Wan's hut in my collection, which is super annoying. His hut game text to subtract 2 from a permanent weapon destiny it's okay. I don't think it's as good as the other 2 locations. Obviously it does get used. You know, we see Kylo, Mara, P-59, Maul, all permanent weapon characters. But yeah, I just don't think it's as universal as Qui-Gon and Yoda. Just not as powerful, especially when we come on to the main pet peeve. Obi-Wan doesn't let you deploy Jedi except for Yoda, and you can't deploy, sorry I'm dropping the cards all over the place, you can't deploy permanent weapon characters, so no EPP sadly. But the no Jedi apart from Yoda means the best Luke you've got is ability 5. Sure, he can have a lightsaber at Obi-Wan's journal, so he can, you know, cancel weapon, but that's 2 card slots, and it just, they haven't got much immunity to attrition. He's not a massive defense value character, so whenever I've played this, Luke doesn't last at all in the games I've played. I'm sure some people are probably going to give me flack for this, but he's just not that great. I've tried a few builds with like Luke the Rebellion's Hope, obviously, and the battle damage tripler. If you can pull it off, it's great. You know, Obi-Wan, you pay a force to add 5 to your battle destiny involving Luke. I think it's all Leia. Oh no, 5 if it's Luke, 3 if it's any other rebel. So, I mean, that is cool. Again though, it just doesn't have the same punch as Qui-Gon and Yoda. And also, you know, you've got to deploy a battleground that's already on the table. So you're kind of limited to Tatooine. You could obviously play, I want to say Imperial Restal, but it's not. It's the light side equivalent that I can't remember what it's called now. Insurrection, I think, which lets you pull a docking bay. But it feels clunky to me to have to pull a docking bay just to use Obi-Wan to then pull the battleground site that you want to use. It's a card slot effect at the start when you want to probably play Saitor, because you want Luke's blaster, you want Han's blaster out, Leia's blaster. You're probably going to want the good blaster for pinging. And then either like We're Leaving, so you don't take overflow, or Wackling, like say, it's always a good one. A grabber these days, Darkseid playing so many good used interrupts that you might even want to just start a grabber in some of your matches. So yeah, the no Jedi apart from Yoda, just not a fan of it. And one of the reasons why is because Ahsoka, she is so cool. And I feel like she should be able to be played in an Obi-Wan communion deck. She can't be hit by permanent weapons. That's awesome. I know it kind of defeats the object of Obi-Wan's hurt, which is why I think Obi-Wan's hurt should be changed as well. But like Ahsoka, I'm sure I've seen somewhere online that she is like top 5, if not top 3 favorite character from Star Wars for most people. And this card is amazing. She subtracts 1 from Battle Destinies and she can't be hit by permanent weapons. Like, she's amazing. And she would give the deck some real like staying power. So the fact that you can't use her is a pet peeve with Obi-Wan Communion for me. The other one, not such a good Jedi, but Kanan Jarrus, Jedi Knight. You know, we got him set 17. I don't think I've ever seen him on the table. To be fair, his text, you know, when he deploys, he draws you a card. If you are playing the other rebels, you do get to draw a card when you deploy them as well. And if he doesn't move, he lets you look in your use pile, which is kind of cool. You can peek and then set up something for the next turn, you know, whether you're going to 3PO a card or draw a destiny for something. So his text is pretty handy. He can't move to do that though. And he is immune to attrition less than 5. For a character of his stats though, I think deploy 5, forfeit 6. Deploy 4 would have been a bit better. Because he is only power 4 at the end of the day. He's Destiny 2 though, which is nice. But again, he's a Jedi, so you can't use him. So, I've mentioned this on Discord a while back, but what I would love to see is the Obi-Wan restriction being changed to kind of the mirror of Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon says you can't deploy rebels. I'd love it if Obi-Wan said you could only deploy rebels, and Luke of ability less than 6. So you can't play Jedi Knight Luke, which would just be insane in that deck, clearly. So you're still restricted to those Lukes, but you could still play Ahsoka and Ezra. Not Ezra. Ahsoka and Kanan. The reason why I said Ezra wasn't just a slip. It's because I've also got Ezra in my hand that I want to show. If, you know, design is going to carry on making new cards, characters, Ezra surely is going to turn into a Jedi at some point in the game. You know, we saw him, you know, defeat Thrawn at the end of Rebels, kind of-ish. He obviously goes into the Jedi Temple, he sees people from the past, he builds his own lightsaber that looks cool with like a weird square handle, like a speeder bike handle type thing. It's a bit reminiscent of Corran Horn in I, Jedi when he builds a lightsaber out of the speeder handle so he doesn't get found out. But yeah, I think, you know, Ezra, I mean, this guy's, he's a cool spy rebel, so he goes in your Obi deck. But yeah, if he ever gets turned into a Jedi, you won't be able to play him. And I think for him, Ahsoka, Janan, you know, these 3 guys are just cool. I'm a big fan of the Rebels series, and it would be cool if they got a bit more play. So that's me and my rant about Obi-Wan Communion over. I do like it as it is. It's a fun deck to play. I just would love to see it as a tier 1.5 maybe not tier 1, but you know, tier 1.5 would be cool so that it was in the same kind of league as the other 2. Like I say, Obi-Wan, he is a dude. He lived through all the films, and without him, where would Luke Skywalker have been? So that's the rant over. And if you can hear that grumbling, it's my dog scratching at the door outside. So I'm going to sort him out, and then I'm going to get on with Synergies. Okay, and we're back with Synergy. Cards that go well together. When I was coming back to the game, you know, first of all, you got to get a hang of V cards, remembering cards, and just building decks, and you got something in mind, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that there's this card that probably goes well in this kind of build and stuff. And I think if there was more of, hopefully, this kind of content that's going to make sense and be beneficial and interesting, is what cards, you know, should go together. What cards are good in a deck, and I'm not just thinking of Imperial Command with Imperials and Generals. You know, that's fairly straightforward. But are there cards that maybe new and returning players, and even returned players, don't necessarily think of as a good combo? This item was sparked because I brought it up on Slack chat, I think, the other week, about why we see a lot of No Escape compared to its light side equivalent, Unitar. Because, you know, No Escape has been talked about before as like one of the best effects to play, because you just get a card right off the top of your lost pile back into hand. It's non-retrieval retrieval, and this card has saved my bacon loads of times. Last year, one of my league games, one of the best things that happened in a game for me was I top decked Arica V, playing against someone who's playing No Idea, Old Allies, and then on my turn I was able to drop No Escape, pick Arica V up, put her down at a site with a character, and for the remainder of the game I just retrieved one force every turn because I couldn't get rid of her. That was super powerful, and in the game it actually just gave me that little bit of an edge, because obviously I was losing a card almost once per turn to add an extra battle destiny and just churn through their characters. So having Arica V to retrieve a force was amazing. So No Escape's super powerful because of that. One of the comments that was made though on Slack, it was by Drew Lichtenstein. I hope I'm saying your name right, Drew, if you're watching. He also goes by Coffee Pass, which is a lot easier to say. But he mentioned it's because of this card, We Must Accelerate Our Plans. Because most decks play this card for the activation package, obviously for the bridge. You know, these, I'm talking about synergy, these are just two great cards that work well together. You pull out a Twix, which is always good, but also with the We Must Accelerate, it's the used Destiny 5 that can pull itself. So, you know, sometimes it can be super irritating. Your opponent, they'll play We Must Accelerate in their turn, and they'll just get another one out of their reserve deck. Gives them a peek, what's in the reserve deck, what have they activated, and then they'll do the same on your turn. They'll just put this back, get their other one out, and then they just keep cycling it. And it's one of those you think, I'd love to grab that card because it's just super irritating, but it's not not good enough to grab. But yeah, and then obviously the other part of the text, which is why it works well with No Escape, is you can pay 3 force to dig out any effect from your reserve deck. So 3 cards that synergize well together: We Must Accelerate Our Plans, Blockade Flagship Bridge, and No Escape. Most people you'll see play at least 3, if not 4 Wiimops in their deck. So that was that. Another reason why I was thinking though that No Escape sees a lot of love and why it's so good is because of this character, Dr. Chelly Afra. She sees play, I think, in like 90% of the games I've watched. She's an alien who, you know, her stats, she's like 3-3-3. Destiny 3, Power 3, Ability 3, Deploy 3, Forfeit 3. She only has 1 as a pilot, but she deploys 3 to an unoccupied site, and she's a spy. So you quite often see her go to like the JCC, Boss Nazi Chambers, you know, any of the light side Twixers, because she'll deploy there for free. But it's her secondary text that's really handy, because she says when you deploy her, you can search your lost pile and move 1 card there to the top of that pile, and if that card was a droid, you can retrieve it into hand. So, you know, Dr. Chelly works with No Escape brilliantly, because No Escape, you can take the top card of your lost pile into hand. So if there's something that you really need, you drop Dr. Chelly first, search your lost pile, slap it on top, and then use No Escape to take it into hand. So more synergy with these cards that are going together. Obviously Dr. Chelly, we're talking about her working with droids. 4 that I picked out, probably the most common. These guys. So you've got, obviously, Fulham with concussion rifle, whether it's V or non-V, he's like a super excellent card. IG, you can either go with the CCT one where he searches your force pile, or IG with riot gun, he's another one you'll see in like Black Sun. Probot is the undercover, sorry my dog's barking, Probot undercover killer. Also great character when you see in Scum decks, because he's a droid, so he gets around Leia Rebel Princess, I think it is. And then obviously everyone's favourite, U3PO, the old undercover droid. Gotta be the most played Premier card. It's probably one of the most played cards in all of Star Wars, I think. This guy has seen it all. He's just solid. I always liked it that they made him white as well, so he actually looks like an undercover light side character. So, 4 droids that work well with Afra. You don't need to Afra and No Escape for them. But again, just cards that synergize well together. And yeah, that's kind of, I'm getting to the end of my little ramble here, but if you want cards that synergize well together, oh man, I just dropped one on the floor, this isn't very professional, but there they are. Blockade Flagship Bridge, Dr. Chelly Afra, We Must Accelerate Our Plans, and No Escape. 4 cards that synergize extremely well together in most dark side decks. Now, if you have any other cards that you think work well together, I would love to hear it. Please send me a message either on the Slack chats if you're on there, or Facebook on Facebook, I think, or on the forums. I am Masasi and Masasi TT, or you can email me at masasitrainingtemple@gmail.com. So I'd love to hear any thoughts. Let me know what you think about these new segments, and until next time, keep playing Star Wars. Thanks very much for watching.